Oscar Pistorius, whose murder trial begins in the North Gauteng High Court in March, is likely to know his fate by the end of this year. The case has sparked a global media frenzy, but has also gained fame in academic studies. The University of Witwatersrand recently hosted a seminar to guide journalists on forensic aspects of the case.
The case is squaring up to be a duel between forensic experts. The forensic evidence, I think, is going to be crucial in determining this case. And it's going to be extremely important. And that includes not only the ballistic evidence, but the evidence of what was heard, whether it could be heard, the evidence of the neighbors, the evidence of previous heated discussions at a late hour of night, which would give the lie to the fact that they were both sleeping quietly. So those are things that need to be tested in court. Those are things that are going to be crucial in the outcome of this case.
Forensic anthropologist and foreign archaeologist Patrick Randolph Queenie was part of the panel and says it has been an interesting case.
In terms of evidence is really, they may turn out to be not greatly significant in the grand scheme of things, and that's how the quality of the evidence was collected. So how crime scenes are actually dealt with in South Africa is very different from how they're dealt with elsewhere in the world, or can be. So procedures to reduce the effects of contamination, for instance, or not having a completely viable chain of evidence can become a problem, and they can be used to undermine a case. But in this case, we know who did it. It's just you're looking at the motivation behind why they did it, and those kind of fit factors may not necessarily affect that kind of determination of judgment.
The trial begins on March 3rd on live television and partly in camera. What do you think of the media reporting so far?
Whether it has a negative impact on the case, I don't know. The one thing it certainly does have is that it means that the normal practice rule that witnesses should not hear the evidence other than expert evidence. Expert witnesses can hear the general evidence, but it is generally thought that until a witness gives evidence, they should not hear the evidence that has been given before them. And this is to stop people trimming their sails to fit the wind. But that is clearly not going to be the case in this particular trial, because at least the audio channel is going to be broadcast live. So whether that has a negative impact, I don't know. One hopes that it won't have, but it certainly is a change in practice from the normal way in which court cases are run.
The Pistorius case throws up so many different issues and problems. You've got a lot of media attention, but you also get reporting in the media. And in some other countries, what's been reported would not be allowed by the courts. So it's useful that you're getting an exposure to the criminal justice system, you're seeing how things operate and how they work. And because you've got a trial judge who will decide on the outcome of the case, you can probably have less influence from the media on how the judge thinks. So it gives you a chance then to see how justice operates, how science operates, and how the whole process functions.
Domestic violence will also be discussed in this case to determine if Pistorius' crime resulted from his alleged abusive nature. Gender activist Lisa Verton shared her views on the abuse of women.
So while we have still to prove whether or not non-lethal abuse was present in this case, you would certainly describe it as an example of lethal domestic violence. He killed her. Very crude terms. So I think we can look at the issue narrowly just in relation to this particular case, or we can look at the broader issues of intimate female homicide and domestic violence more broadly. And that's what I want to focus on in this presentation, is in looking at this case, what are the possibilities of using this as a possibility of looking at domestic violence more broadly in South Africa? Because our data does suggest that it is the most common form of violence that women do experience. So it would be important, I think, in order to, and that when women watch this trial, you will certainly have many who are identifying very closely with what is going on. And so this becomes an opportunity to provide information that is potentially helpful or hindrance.
I think what Lisa Verton was talking about today, in terms of is this a case of domestic abuse? Is this an issue that you have an individual and it's a relationship that's breaking up, and therefore this is seen as part of a system of domestic violence or of abuse, or is it a purely accidental phenomenon? And I think that's going to come down to the big difference between whether it's a Schedule 5 or a Schedule 6 offence. Is the motivation, it's the premeditation versus the accidental discharge, or overstepping the boundaries. If you have a household intruder, for instance, I mean, South African law is very, very clear on how far a householder and a responsible gun owner can go in relation to that.
The South African Police Services has repeatedly insisted it has a strong case against the Olympic and Paralympic athlete. Pistorius has hired a team of legal experts to see him through against the state, which doesn't come cheap.
A quick estimate, it will be more than R1 million. I've no doubt about that. These are expensive people. He uses a senior advocate, he uses a junior advocate. So these people come at a high price. He used other forensic teams, he had forensic experts in his team. So it might even run into millions of rands, but I've not seen any figures. I'm estimating on what I've seen of legal costs of other similar cases.
It's on Twitter. Amagwena Manamela reporting for Business Day in Financial Mail.